Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. Today we are taking a look at a figure that is, by my estimations, 8 years old. So I believe this came out sometime around 2015, maybe 2016, somewhere in there. This is the DC Collectibles Icons Deadman. And the reason I picked this up is because I am kind of done with the multiverse line. It hasn't really been doing much for me. Quite honestly, over the past couple years, I haven't really been having much fun with that line. And I'm not saying it's a bad line. I understand there are fans of it. I understand there are people that like it, and that's fantastic. I'm glad you're enjoying it, but for me, it's really something that I wanted to get out of, and I really want to get more into like true 1/12 6-inch scale figures for my DC collection. We can see that with the 1/12 Wonder Woman that I have, and the Mafex Cyborg Superman that we took a look at not too long ago, and the other Mafex figures that I have on pre-order. And I'm even diving into some of the older figures like Deadman here. Now, I know that the time that this came out and Icons scale, I think this is a true 6-inch figure, so he's probably going to be a little shorter than like my Mezco Wonder Woman and my Mafex Superman, but knowing that, I'm okay with it. Also, this figure was still on the pegs at my local comic shop, and my comic guy, he sold it to me for the original retail price plus 25% off. So I also got a pretty good deal on it. So Deadman is one of my, I don't want to say one of my favorite characters, but to me, he's like one of those quintessential DC characters because he's just so unique, so interesting. He has such a great look. And I've always been very much into like the supernatural heroes, like Deadman, the Spectre. In Marvel Comics, you have Ghost Rider, things like that. So when I saw that he was still available at the comic shop after I made the decision to go to a 6-inch scale for my DC figures, I figured I would pick him up and add him to my collection. So yes, this is going to be a bit of a throwback review because many of you may already have this figure, have seen this figure, or is wondering, Mac, why are you doing a review of a figure that I can't buy anymore? It's my channel. That's the only thing I'm going to say. So, taking a look at it here, DC Icons, we have, of course, the big window where we see the figure and we see the accessories that he gets. Really just this possession accessory and these extra sets of hands. On the side, we have more window with some air holes. Deadman etched into the window, the DC Icons logo, DC Comics. Up top, we have the Deadman logo. On the side here, we have the DC Icons branding title, Deadman, Brightest Day. Now, I know they said this is from Brightest Day, but really, this is basically Boston's standard look. Like, I don't think he's changed much since his creation. And then on the back, we have a cross-sell for the other figures that were part of this line. We have the Batman, we have Green Arrow. These two I'm not real interested in, but this Mr. Miracle right here, I may try to find him because I think he looks really good. We also have close-up photos you can see of all of their face portraits. And I like this. Designed by Ivan Reis, sculpted by Dave Cortez. I like that. I wish more figures, more manufacturers would put like the sculptor and the designer more prevalently on the boxes. I like knowing that. I think that's really cool. So, without further ado, let's get this open and let's step into the Wayback Machine and take a look at DC Collectibles Icons Deadman. Okay, so here he is, Deadman, out of the box, and putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he is roughly 5 7/8 to the top of his head. So he's not even really a full 6 inches, and we'll see the impact that has during the size comparisons later in the video. So despite the problem with his size, that he's just going to be so much smaller than the other 1/12 figures I have for my beginnings of my 1/12 DC line, I still really like the look of this figure. His articulation isn't going to be anything that we expect from a figure today, but it's not horrible. First of all, I gotta say, I love the face sculpt. Let me see if I can get a light on him for the close-up right here. I love that face sculpt. I love the texturing and like just how tight the skin is pulled across his chest, the deep recesses of his eyes, the high cheekbones, even like the hollow cheek cavities. I love all of this. The furrowed brow right in here. Nothing really on the back of the head. That's just a shiny dome. But I really like everything that's going on right here with the bone white for the skin texture, just like that dead look. I mean, really. And then you even have the texturing carrying over into the torso right here that I think just makes it fantastic. A fantastic sculpt for the torso and then down into the thighs as well. You'll notice there's no line broken up for a thigh cut. Once we get to like the boots and the gloves, it gets a little comic booky with this real bright red and like this sort of like this patent paint look to it. I think this is supposed to be sort of like representing the leather of his gloves and his boots that he wore in life. But like, look at this. You even see like the musculature carrying over on the back. You have it up here, like this tightness pulled on his shoulders, I think is fantastic. I really like the look of this figure. That was one of the things that drew me to it. I knew it was going to be smaller than what I had, but I just really like the sculpt, the design, and the look of this guy, which is another reason why I want to get that Mr. Miracle, even though I know size-wise it's probably going to be the same issue. I just feel like that Mr. Miracle looks really good. So now let's take a look at the articulation. And like I said, it's not going to be anything like what we are used to, that the head would be able to do a full 360. Oh, it can do a full 360, even with this big 70s disco collar here. He doesn't look up at all, which is unfortunate for flying poses. He can look down okay, and there's a little bit of tilt side to side, but nothing really to speak of. The arms will do a full 360 spin. There's no butterfly joint. They will come up to 90. You have a bicep swivel right there that is like really, it works with the sculpt of the figure. It's carved in there very nice. We have double jointed elbows that the bottom joint doesn't really move very well. That like, even though they're double jointed, they only go up a little bit past 90. Wrists pivot, hinge in and out on both of them. Let's get your arms up out of the way here. He does have an ab cut right in here that there's really no back or forth on it, and there's no side to side, but he can turn. He's a little stiff, but I've seen other reviews from back in the day where he had much more less stiff articulation. I don't know if this has anything to do with the age of the figure and that it's sort of been just dry rotting in a box for the past 8 years. He has an ab cut that will let him go forward and will let him go back. The legs will come up to 90. They will also pivot, but you can see there's just a ball joint right there in the crotch that they won't really, it's not really like that hidden hip joint that they won't really pivot right there. And as far as coming up goes, you kind of got to turn the leg. You see that? You kind of got to turn it out to get it to go up. It will go back that far. Like I said, no thigh cut, double jointed knees with better travel than the elbows, no boot cut, no pivot or swivel at the ankle, but the ankles do rock back, the ankles do rock forward, and there is a forward-facing pin for rocker. And thankfully they do have he does have peg holes in the bottom of his feet, but I think those are smaller than the standard size. Out of the box, Boston comes with 2 fists, and he comes with these open, sort of haunting hands. Now, as far as accessories go, he comes with this latex overlay that the power of Deadman is that he can possess people. And the idea is that you're supposed to be able to fit this over your other DC Icons figures to sort of make it look like Boston Deadman is possessing people. However, it doesn't fit very well on anything other than, I'm guessing, the other figures of this wave. As a matter of fact, you can even see that there are sort of like jagged edges cut out that in the directions that come with this, it shows you how to use this. It shows you using it on the Batman that came with this line. So I'm guessing that's really all it was meant for. Because if we take my 1/12 Wonder Woman right here, first of all, the hair is just way too big that it won't stay on her. Interestingly enough, though, if you take Zartan here and you pop his cowl off, it fits on him pretty well. And that's how it's supposed to look, like Deadman is possessing, you know, Zartan. Because that's a mashup. Oh man, G.I. Joe and DC, that needs to happen. I think it's a cool accessory. I like that they added it in. I'm sure at the time something like this was really unique and really different. But now, without having the Batman that this fits on, and not really having another figure that this would fit on, I mean, I'll keep it, but I don't know how much use this is actually going to get. And now for size comparison, here he is beside Mezco 1/12 Rebirth Wonder Woman and Mafex Cyborg Superman. And you can see what I mean by size difference. He really is much smaller than these other two figures, but for some reason that doesn't really bother me. And I think it's mainly because I kind of knew this was going to happen when I bought the figure. And here he is beside another DC figure of old. This is Cheetah from, I think it was DC Direct. I can't remember what line she's actually from. Here he is beside Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Ripper and Zartan. Here he is beside Hasbro Marvel Legends Captain Marvel and Lady Deathstrike. Here he is beside NECA Toys Dungeons & Dragons Warduke and Grimsword. And finally, now for a comparison, here he is beside the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Deadman. And this is kind of one of the issues I've been having with the Multiverse line. As far as like the look of the character goes and pretty much comic accuracy, I gotta give it to the Icons figure. I know the Multiverse figure is newer. He'll size up better with the newer line. I know he has far better articulation, and he did come with those really cool smoke effects, but there's something about the Icons figure in the sculpt and the coloring and just the general look that I gotta give it to the older one. And by the way, in case you're wondering, yes, I can get the McFarlane Multiverse smoke effects to work with the Icons figure. So I don't expect everybody to like ditch their Multiverse and go out and start investing in old figures of Icons or DC Direct or anything like that. That's not why I did this. I did this because I picked this figure up and I thought it would be kind of cool to take a look at it. This is purely a personal decision to switch over to like a 1/6 scale and resurrect some of these old figures for my DC collection. But I also thought it was an interesting look at where we were just 8 years ago, not even a decade ago, in the action figure world. That I really like the sculpt of it. The articulation absolutely leaves something to be desired. And if I'm remembering correctly, there's even things that were standard in articulation for figures at the time that this one is missing. I can understand if they didn't want to break up the sculpt and put a thigh cut in there. Sure, I get that. But they could have definitely put like a boot cut on that, especially since they have a definitive boot line. Like that would have been the place to put the swivel. I do like the coloring. I really, really like the sculpt. Hats off to you, Dave Cortez. I think this is a fantastic representation of Deadman in plastic form. It does also really make me want to get that Mr. Miracle figure that even though I know the size is going to be an issue, I kind of want to see how he holds up compared to this one, and I think the coloring on him just looks really cool. Let me know what you think. Like, honestly, I'm very curious. Who has this figure? Who had the DC Icons line? Who got like the DC Collectibles line? I was upset when they shut that branch down. I was really looking forward to picking up some of the figures because this figure, for example, predates me getting back into action figure collecting, and the figures that I was picking up from DC Collectibles and DC Direct, I really liked what I was seeing, so I wish this would have stuck around a little bit longer. Let me know what you think, comment down below, and while you're down there, please remember to do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. My subscriber count continues to go up on a daily basis, and I appreciate all of you for it. So until next time, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.